Hey folks, so one of the most asked questions that we received this week is what's going on with shares of Facebook? Do we need to buy it? Do we need to sell it? What's going on? And I thought I would keep it kind of light here and just go through a few charts for perspective. I will tell you, I think basically the stock in the near term looks very, very stretched. It looks like it could go higher over time. I think there's a bunch of structural problems, fundamental issues, including things like antitrust things that are going on with the company. There's a threat that it could get broken up. We'll see, right? But aside from that, let me just kind of go through and at least make the case for what the charts look like near term and long term, so you can kind of get some perspective around this. First of all, what you'll see if you look at this chart here, I made a fairly long-term chart on the stock. And you can see that we've broken above resistance. I'll get back to this point in a minute. But also note that from a momentum perspective, on this longer-term chart, you can see that on the daily time frames, we have its MACD, which is a momentum oscillator, is far higher than it's ever been, right? I mean, it's literally very, very lofty. It doesn't mean the stock has to roll over from here immediately, but it means that the odds of a continuation higher without a reversion lower first are fairly slim. From an RSI perspective, just so you guys know, relative strength index basically is what it is. You can see we are right now more or less where we were when the stock topped out in January. Again, doesn't mean the stock has to roll over here, but again, I think the path that leads resistance for the short term is fairly stretched. Is fairly difficult to see to the upside. Let's zoom in a bit closer on the chart itself, and I'm going to make you a near-term indicator chart, which has what you want to focus on is the yellow line. It's the 21-day moving average. And right now, if we look at this, you'll note that the stock, as of the close of trading of the 21st of May, the stock is trading just a little bit over 12% above that 21-day moving average. The 21-day moving average is a great moving average in case you're not using one, to kind of look for short-term pullbacks to it and then see if it holds trend. I would not be surprised if we get a pullback in Facebook over whatever, days, weeks, that gets us back to the 21-day and then maybe it holds, right? So anyway, the point is right now the stock is very overbought from a momentum perspective. It's stretched above its 21-day moving average. And then the other thing that we have right now is if you pull back the chart a bit more, and I'll show you this on a weekly chart in a second, you can see it's essentially broken out of a fairly long base, whatever long-term is for people in Facebook stock, right? The stock's only been listed, I think, like 2013. Yeah. So, or something like that, maybe 2012, 2011, whatever. The point is, what we've now seen is essentially a breakout to new highs above major resistance, but that breakout's not coming from some meaningful consolidation below this point, but literally straight from the March lows. Now, I understand why. You know, there's a scarcity value, you know, money being printed and tossed around, so people are chasing things, passive indexing bubble. I get it, right? But from a technical perspective and through the lens of investor psychology, you could throw in as well. I would make the case that, well, we know that breakouts that come without pause from all the way at the lows, they don't last. They may ultimately resume, but you first get a pullback, you know, to support, whatever that support level is. So I think I'm very suspicious of the breakout. I think we'll get a retest or we'll get some consolidation first at the very least, with likely somewhat lower levels over the course of the coming weeks or so. That's kind of what my analysis here seems to indicate. Now, I promise you I'll show you a long-term chart. And so when I show you here quickly, I'm going to make all of this a weekly chart. And let's just get rid of moving averages because it's going to distort things. And I'm going to make this what's called a logarithmic chart. And if you look at a logarithmic chart, you can see, and this is kind of like going back to, you know, years and years back, all the way to the 2012 listing. 2012 is when the company came to market. And you can see essentially on the logarithmic chart, you could make the case that this stock has, and I'll make this even more visually appealing for you, has essentially trotted sideways since, let's call it July 2018. And we've now just seen a breakout. So once we see consolidation, I would think from this, and assuming things go well, if there's no more, if the antitrust things go away, and I have no idea about that, right? That's kind of up in the air right now, at least from my perspective. I would make the case the stock could continue to push higher. But, at this point, I'm not really willing to take a long-term stab at the stock anyway, since it's, I think, very overbought in the near term. But I just wanted to show you this for some perspective. So anyway, folks, I hope this makes sense. Hope it's helpful. If you have any questions, comments, leave them down below. Give us a thumbs up like if you enjoyed it. And subscribe and tell people about the channel and all that good stuff. Stay safe and healthy, and I'll see you guys soon.